Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic turned full-time energy healer and teacher.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch running my family's crystal shop.
And we're here to explore all things woo through the lens of both science and spirituality so that you can find the moments of magic in your everyday life and create an intentional spiritual practice.
So if that's what you're into, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic. Howdy doody, friends.
Howdy doody, friends.
Can I say, we got a message today that included howdy don't-y as a call to stop and action. And
I like that.
It is entering my vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
So to the person who sent that message, just know that I love you and you've changed me forever.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know if I've been changed for the better, but I've been changed for good.
You sure have.
Get it? Wicked? Okay. Anyways, today we're having a podcast. In that podcast, we're talking about something that we've gotten a lot of messages about. I feel like I say that every time.
We're just so popular.
We're so popular. You guys are always in our DMs, and you're always giving us really good ideas.
You're gonna be popular.
Uh-huh. So true. But we're going to talk about ancestor work, ancestral magic. Because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about what it really looks like. And it feels like there's this barrier to entry for a lot of people, especially if you have complicated family relationships. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm excited too, because I literally, when we were posed this idea, I was like, I have nothing to add. I don't know. And then Madison conveniently reminded me of things that I can add.
That you do know.
I'm just excited to hear what Madison has to say because I'm interested in this subject personally.
Listen, I'm so popular. Oh my God. Molly wants to hear my opinions. Well, before we get to my coveted opinions on the topic.
Covenanted.
Oh my God, covenanted. That also sounds like covenant. Whatever. Okay. I felt a rabbit hole forming. I felt the tangent. It was on the tip of my tongue. We're leaving it at the door. Molly, what's your magic moment this week?
My magic moment involves you.
Oh no. Fear. Immediate fear unlocked.
I don't want to spoil it, but you will potentially be able to hear the whole story at some point soon. But I had a major crash out of which Madison was forced to bear witness.
Yeah. I was held hostage by this crash out.
As you know, we do voice note each other. That's our primary form of communication. Hence why we have a podcast. But
yeah, it works out well.
I send the most unhinged podcast. No. It
Some
was
could
like
argue,
a mini podcast.
It told a story. It had a beginning. It had a beginning, middle, and end. It had there was the hero's journey.
It really was.
In that voice note.
It was a minute and 36 seconds long. And it was truly the most dysregulated voice note I've ever sent. Ever.
Molly has been in real crisis in sometimes voice noting me, and never has there been this level of like pure unadulterated chaos.
Long story short, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I was freaking out because the pants I was wearing to the gym had a front seam, and I do not wear front seams. And my magic moment is like, it's so truly hilarious to me now, like in hindsight. Like, it was funny to me in the moment, but really my magic moment is I had this massive crash out, like truly like almost had to pull over and like just sort myself out. Absolute crash out. And then afterwards, I was just like, wow, my nervous system was in such a survival mode state. Like, truly, I was like, wow, this is my new example I'm going to give my students.
Yeah.
Like,
look at me.
And I was
so
able
aware.
I was able to recognize that. And then, like, do some things to regulate myself. I did a little bit of Reiki. I did a little bit of breath work. I sang along in my car to some Dream Street. And then the rest of the way to the gym, by the time I got to the gym, I found it so funny. Like, the original reason I was crashing out was so funny to me. I played that voice note to every single person I came across in the gym. I was like, hey, dude, what's up? You got to listen to this. Listen to me. Absolutely. Like, just
lose my marbles.
Freak out. Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear me having a really bad time?
And everyone I've played it for has had the same reaction. So it also inspired us. We've been talking about Akamom, A Court of Molly and Madison.
Our Patreon podcast coming to a podcast near you.
Our Patreon podcast. And literally, after I left the gym, I was like, what if instead of magic moments, we just played our most unhinged voice notes? Because I need the world to hear this.
Because it is on like quite a regular basis that we have pure gold content that
and
just
nowhere to put
lives. Yeah, it just lives. Like, what fun is it if only you and me hear the bonkers behavior that we provide?
Mm-hmm. And so we recorded the first episode that night. We're gonna announce it officially next week on our 100th episode. But
so this was us announcing it before we announce it.
No, this was me saying that, like, many years ago, a crash out like that would have derailed me for an entire day. And now I'm able to, like, make lemonade out of
the proverbial
lemons with a front seam. Yeah.
Yeah, front seam lemons.
So it's a soft, I'm soft launching it.
Yeah, this is our soft launch that next week you'll get a hard launch.
You'll get a hard launch next week, but people have been asking about the Akamom. And so I feel like
gotta give the people what they want.
Gotta give them what they want. What was your magic moment?
My magic moment is that I am deeply entrenched in beef with the mayor of Tarpon Springs.
Oh.
And it did not go well for the mayor. I have to say. So, okay. I have to give some context. You guys might have seen, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see I like shared it. But my mom, for those who might not know, the whole basis of this podcast, my mom and I have a store in Tarpon Springs, Florida. We have one in Tarpon Springs and one in St. Pete. Mm-hmm. Tarpon Springs, the Healing Hedge Witch. It's a pretty like religious community on the whole, but we've been like very lucky to be very like embraced by the Tarpon Springs community. We are like one of the more popular stores in their downtown area. Like, we're a beloved staple. Not to toot my own horn, but we are very popular. Toot toot. The people love us. Mm-hmm. You're the Glindas. I was just about to say that. Damn it, you beat me. Anyways, so my mom has a friend who was running for a city commission seat against the commissioner who appointed the current mayor of Tarpon Springs. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this guy doesn't like my mom's friend. He woke up. This was at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. He woke up with vengeance in his heart, scrolled back through this woman's fucking Facebook and found where she had done a candle class at Hedge Witch, took a screenshot of it, and shared it on his fucking Facebook, and tagged my mom, her personal Facebook, and her friend, and was like, what kind of ritual is this? Like, what does this have to do with maintaining the cultural integrity of Tarpon Springs or whatever? Implying that just by nature of like shopping at our store, this woman was unfit to hold public office. You're unfit for a city commission seat because you, checks notes, shop small.
Shop small, shop local.
But like the implication being that like there was something wrong with our store and like that we're demonic because it's a heavily Greek community, heavily Greek Orthodox community.
Yes.
The comments on this post did not disappoint.
I'm so sad that he turned the comments off before I got to it.
Oh.
But I found his Instagram page and his comments were not up when I got there.
It was good. The number of people who took like personal offense to this man's slander, it was so good. But like, of course, I shared it on my, like, to my page. I shared it on my Instagram, on the Demystify Instagram, and Hedgewitch made a post and shared it. And this man was flooded. not just by people who like follow us, like not just, it was by other people who had no idea that the store existed. Like people, I saw a few
people
shares.
were like making candles, question mark.
Yes, but a few people shared it and were like, oh my God, I had no idea this business existed. Like, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me know. Like, I can't wait to book a candle class. Because it was bonkers. Like, that's like you're not well.
Yeah. Unhinged. That's an inside thought.
That's an
that he posted publicly.
Thought. And in the comments, he's like showing his ass. He's like being rude to people, like making fun of people, mocking people.
It's like triggered much.
Yeah. He's like this man is obsessed with my mom, like in a creepy way. He makes comments about her all the time. Uses the barf emoji to describe her. His constituent.
Weird.
This is a small business that exists in the town that he's the mayor of. And he's like trying to use his fucking platform to disparage a small business because he doesn't like that we make candles. It was wild. And so, of course, I'm riled up because you don't talk about my mom like that. I do not play when it comes to my mother. I was texting my stepdad about it and he was like, I know that you like don't condone violence, but sometimes you just want to hit somebody. And I said, when it comes to mom, talk shit, get hit. This podcast is not a threat of violence. If you hear this, Mr. Mayor, I just think you're a not nice little loser man.
You're a meanie butt face.
I'm not going to hit you. I'm just going to want to.
If you're not fun, just say that.
And like, whatever. The thing is, you're allowed to not like my small business. You're allowed to not like witchcraft. You're allowed to not like me. But to quote our Lord and Savior, Missy Elliott, you don't have to love me. You don't even have to like me. But you will respect me because I'm a boss. And he learned that lesson that Saturday.
He's still learning it.
And I'll be honest, it felt really good.
Yeah.
It just felt good to be defended by the community and like to see in real time how many people have our fucking backs and to watch him like cower like a little boy and delete his fucking post.
He deleted it?
He deleted it.
Oh, I didn't get that update. Hey, you may have deleted it, sir, but we have the receipt.
Screenshots are forever. So it was quite satisfying.
Wow. Anyways, his comments are open on Instagram.
I don't think he's going to be the mayor for much longer. I don't like really know the sitch. Like, whatever. It's sad, small man. We get it.
My favorite was he posted a picture of like a baseball team and I commented, what kind of ritual is this? What does this have to do with the cultural integrity of Tarpon Springs?
Yeah. It's just so silly is like really what it is. I think it's so interesting. I at the end of the day, I feel really bad for people who feel so threatened by the fact that people exist outside their ideology. Like, we have a really good relationship with a lot of really religious people come into the store. And it's just not hard to like respect people. And it's not hard to be understanding of differing belief systems. I have no issue with people who practice Christianity. I have no issue with people who think that I'm practicing devil worship. Like, as long as you keep it to yourself, as long as you keep your inside thoughts inside, I'm not bothered by it. It's when you try to use a position of power to impede our success and make it look like we're a bad thing in your community. When we like, and not to toot my own horn, but because of this fucking podcast, people have traveled from all over the country to Tarpon Springs.
That's what someone wrote in the comments. I know personally people who have traveled from all over the country to visit this store and spend their money in Tarpon.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
Pete.
Mayor Pete.
Anyways, okay. That's my magic moment. My magic moment is that he got owned.
Didn't even have to put him in the freezer.
Somebody like that, you don't want to put him in the freezer. I got a few messages saying, like, just put him in the freezer. I was like, no, why would I put him in the freezer when he's, like, doing such a good job of hexing himself?
Yeah.
Sometimes just letting people do what they're already doing, like letting them dig their own grave, like they are making the magic for themselves and it's not the magic that we want.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
They are creating the world that they live in. And I don't want to be in that.
I love that for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Enough about him. Enough about Pete.
Pete.
I really wanted to talk about ancestry magic. And almost when you said that you didn't have anything to contribute, I was like, oh, then we need to talk about this because you definitely do. I think ancestor work is one of those things that has that energy of, oh, this must be really complicated and this must be like not for me because of XYZ. So I kind of like, we wrote out a few different ways to like really tap into ancestor magic, ancestor work. And I get a little bit, we're going to start with like the most obvious and then move out to some like reframes.
I just want to make a note because I think there's a misconception about this podcast that people think we're hyper organized. When Madison says she wrote out a couple of things, I just counted there's 18 words here.
I didn't listen, and I wrote them out.
She wrote them, so
I wrote them down, and that's what matters. We have a loose outline.
It's a loose outline. It is.
You know what? The more you guys keep telling us that you love the tangents, the fewer words go in the outline. You're lucky we still have an outline at this point.
I was going to say, this is the most outlined episode we've had in a while. So
I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that we're going somewhere.
We are.
And if we start talking, because I'm going to talk about how to connect with direct family members that you've lost. Mm-hmm. If that's not something that you feel like applies to you, I just want you to know that like we're going other places and it's not just going to be about these like very traditional ways to do ancestor work. But I also know a lot of people who have like come into the store or sent us DMs saying like, I want to honor this person, but I don't really know how.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to start there just because it feels like the most obvious outline of ancestor work. So I also want to make the disclaimer that this is not just for people that you're really close to in life. I think we both kind of have an experience of like the people that we honor in our families are not people that we were super close to when they were alive. We've talked about my grandpa before. Lord knows everybody knows the story of how I honor my grandpa with his cigarettes.
With cigarettes, if anyone's new here.
Yeah, maybe I should tell that story again because it has been quite a while.
Yeah, I think you should because it has been like a year and a half.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of new listeners.
If you've heard this, sorry, skip ahead 30 seconds. But my grandfather, my dad's dad, passed away 2 years ago. This past January.
Right around when we started making this podcast,
Yes, it was right when we started recording. And just like to be totally honest, we weren't very close. All of my extended family pretty much lives in North Carolina, and I don't go there very often. My mom primarily is the one who raised me. My dad moved down to Florida when I was like maybe 12 or 13. And that's like, I spent more time with him then, but it was mostly like school breaks that I was ever able to go up there when I was younger. And then as I got older, like it's just, life is different and that's okay. But when he passed, I had like one of my first clairaudient experiences because it was like the moment he passed, it was like I really knew him. And we had a very different relationship after he died. And I was thinking about setting up like on my altar, I was like, oh, I'd like to have something for him. I wonder what he would want. And plain as fucking day, that man, as if he was standing right next to me, I heard him say, a cigarette. And it sent me down this like long rabbit hole because they stopped selling the cigarettes that he smoked his whole life. It was like, I don't know. I think my dad and I have talked about it. I'm pretty sure the corner store by his house only stocked them because he smoked them and then stopped selling them when they heard he died. And they're like, well,
thank God.
Yeah, I don't have to keep spending money on these anymore. You know, nobody else is buying these. So many, over the last almost 2 years, so many of you have offered to buy and send me those cigarettes. so many of our listeners in the South who are like, if you can't find them, like, I'll be on the lookout. Like, what are they? They're Monarch Menthol Light 100s. If you ever want to pour one out for Tom, if you ever see him on the street, buy a pack, set one out for him. He would love that.
You have found them since.
I have. My dad found them and he went and got them for me. And he brought them with him once when he came to visit. But that is what my ancestor work looks like with him, like with my direct family, is with one. I think the easiest thing is if it's someone that you feel open to communicating with, ask. Ask what they want. Ask how they want to be remembered. Ask how they want to be honored. And if it's not someone that you, if it's someone that you like weren't super close to, but you're open to communication, like I think there's this level of almost awkwardness that we can experience of like, oh, I don't deserve this level of connection because I didn't have it before. I want to give you permission to say, like, to open that line of communication. And if you feel called, that like there's a reason there and that you can have a relationship that's different in death than it was in life.
Yeah. It's interesting because like I have two ancestors that I work with. One of them I had zero relationship with. She literally died when I was an infant. So no relationship. Couldn't even tell you what she looked like, to be honest with you. And then one that passed a couple of years ago that I was very, very, relatively close with, but have gotten even closer to working with her in spirit. And I do kind of similarly, like asking how they want to be remembered. But honestly, my grandmother that I didn't have a relationship with, she just like interjected herself into my practice.
Yeah.
Almost like I very distinctly remember I was in a Reiki session for me, like I was receiving Reiki. And all of a sudden I felt a second set of hands on me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? And then like I could see almost like, when there's a light above you and someone stands in front of it and you see like a shadow with your eyes closed. I like saw that. And then I just knew like, oh, that's my grandmother. There she is. And then it just kept happening. Like when I would finish a yoga class, she would be there doing Reiki on me while I was like in Shavasana. And she like pops in, during sessions and things now. And then my other grandmother that passed a couple of years ago, I also connected with her with Reiki before she passed. And so now I like connect with her when I'm doing Reiki for myself. Usually I'll like connect with her, but she sends me like signs. I was seeing dragonflies a lot when the first year that she passed. And I've made like little spell jars for her, and I have like her jewelry on my altar and things like that. So just like little tokens to remember her by.
I love that you said like that you made a point to say, I just knew it was her. Because I think that's kind of a hard part too when you don't have that really strong connection that, I was very lucky as like when Linda was sick, we knew she was going to die and she told us full stop how she was going to come back, like how we would know it was her, like what the signs were to look for. And that is rare. And so I think it's a really important call to trust your gut and trust your intuition, because I know a lot of people who work with ancestors that they don't even know, like they don't even know how far back they might be. They just feel that person's energy and know like, oh, you're from somewhere before.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, like with my first grandmother, I just knew it was her. With Evie, the grandmother that I was close with, it was like one of those things where every time I was thinking about her right after she passed, I would see a dragonfly just like randomly. And then it became like well, this happened too many times to be a coincidence.
Yeah. And
then I literally one day I was like, if that's you, show me a dragonfly. And one flew by in my yard. By the way, dragonflies do not fly in my yard. That's not that's not normal. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now it's like a way that we connect. And sometimes it's like dragonfly outside, like a real fly. Sometimes it's like I'll see it on like a, one time I saw it on like a yogurt container and I was like, that was interesting. So you can also like ask them for signs when they're around too.
Yeah, I think so much of ancestor work is like really a lesson in trust and an exercise in trust, because it's also a really great way to discern, especially with people that you like might want to hear from, what is your intuition and what is your ego.
Yeah.
You know, because it's hard to parse out sometimes like the signs that you're maybe looking for, and what is a sign and what is me looking for something, and like learning the difference between those two things too. Because I think we talk a lot about how to discern from your anxiety and your intuition. Something that I don't feel like people talk about a lot is how to discern from your desire and your intuition. And
could do a whole episode on that.
And it really is kind of the same. It's, you know how your body doesn't know the difference between anxiety and excitement? That feeling in your chest, that feeling in your tummy, that is also desire, that is also like the wanting. It's kind of the same thing as when your anxiety is kicking in and you can say, oh, this feels like this. I know that this is maybe that I want it to be something. I want it to be better. And that's okay. I think that's also something that we maybe put a lot of pressure on ourselves of like, oh, I shouldn't be looking for it. I shouldn't be thinking about it so much. And that's really not true.
Yeah. I think something that helps me in the moment when I'm like in that, is this a sign or is this something I want to see because I want to feel connected to this person, is I'll ask for a more specific sign, a more signy sign. So I'll say like, if it's you, show me a dragonfly. If it's not you, show me a butterfly. And then I just like keep my eyes peeled, and whichever one I see first.
Oh, I love that.
My answer. Yeah. And I'll tend to do that with like, if I'm not sure of like a decision I should make and I want their advice, say like, if yes, show me this. If no, show me that. And then you just look out for that. And then I feel like that takes the pressure off me because I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to see one of these two things. It's just a matter of like, which one do I pick up on first?
Yeah. Which one do I see first?
Yeah. And then you can let it go.
And so if you are making those connections, if you are feeling that energy and you're looking to honor those people, it also doesn't have to be big. I think something with ancestor work is that it feels like you have to do a lot. There has to be an ancestor altar and you have to do all of these things for them. And it really doesn't have to be that way. I've had the same pack of cigarettes sitting on my altar since my dad gave them to me shortly after my grandpa died. You know, sometimes I will put a glass of water on that altar. I have another ancestor I work with, my great grandpa, Tom's dad, who I'd been working with for a long time. I don't know even that if I ever met him. Like I'd met him maybe as a baby, but was someone that was in my sphere. And I like put the pieces together from like what I had learned about him through readings and things and, you know, just like bits and pieces, but realized that that's who I was talking to and working with. I have coffee grounds that I leave out for him, you know, and it's super easy. I just scoop them out, put them in a little cup, leave them be. When I think about it, I know it's time to change it out. You know, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be like a strict schedule.
Yeah.
And it can also be something quite small.
Yeah. I think of it as like, I kind of do more of the altar thing in big moments. Like when I got married and my grandmother, she passed just a couple of months before our wedding, and I really wanted her to be there. And so I made her like an altar on like one of the chairs in the front row. And so it's like I used one of her scarves and like a picture and like a rose from my bouquet or something. And then I dried that rose after, and I keep it on my altar now. And so for those like bigger moments or moments where I feel like I miss her, I'll do like a little something like that in my space.
That's beautiful.
But otherwise, I just kind of keep like a couple of tokens that remind me of her in the space. And then like my other grandmother, she really doesn't want anything like that.
Yeah.
She's on her own. She just passes in and on her own terms, on her own time. And
she said, "You're not here for me. I'm here for you."
Yeah.
I'm doing
it. She's like, "You're not going to tell me what to do."
Can I have permission to go on a tangent?
Yeah, please.
Because I saw a TikTok yesterday of someone saying at their wedding, it was like all the things that went wrong at our wedding. And it was a very lighthearted like TikTok of someone being like, wouldn't change it for the world. It was the most beautiful day. Like proof that anything can go wrong and you can still have a beautiful time at your wedding. They did that for a family member who had passed. I don't remember who it was. Somebody moved the stuff and took the chair in the front row. When I tell you, bless that woman, she had such a good attitude, like was so, did whatever. It was like right next to the slide that was like, it rained. I was like, there would be blood.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No. Everyone knew not to touch it at my wedding because we did. You know how people do a first look?
Uh-huh.
We did a first look with my grandfather seeing the altar.
Aww.
Yeah. So
that's really sweet.
Everyone knew. I was like, everyone get inside. This is his moment.
Go away.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it like 10 times since. I've been like, I hope that person's having a bad day.
I hope they're just like haunted by that person's spirit.
Right? And I hope they're haunted by their choices. I hope somebody told them afterwards.
How would they not know? Why would you need to be told?
I can, like, maybe this is just me, like, assuming the best in people, but I'm like, you have to just not be thinking. Like, there's no way who consciously, if you're thinking about who gets invited to someone's wedding, it has to be people who, like, care about that person in some regard.
Maybe.
So it can't just be that you're a monster and you don't care about their dead grandma.
I just can't fathom.
Oh my God, how silly. Somebody forgot to take this picture and like hang it on the wall. Don't worry, I'll move it for you. Like, what is wrong with you? Anyways,
and it's not like they put it in the back. They put it in the front.
The
couple
front
of rows.
row.
Yeah.
The front row. Oh, it made me sick. And you talking about that made me remember. So now I have to, if I have to suffer, so do you.
So sorry. So don't do that to other people's ancestral
Don't touch
altars.
people's ancestor altars. Even if they're not calling them altars.
Yeah.
Don't touch pictures of people's grandmas on chairs at weddings. If you learn nothing else from this podcast, if there's a world in which you think that it could maybe be like maybe that's not what it is, just err on the side of altar.
Permission to go on a slight tangent related to this.
Please.
This reminds me of when I worked at a retirement home. On Veterans Day, you're supposed to leave like an empty place setting for to represent the veterans, like the people who've been lost. I didn't know anything about this, but a bunch of the veterans in the community asked me to set one up, and I was like, okay, I'll set one up. And then this poor little old lady.
Oh no. Oh no. She sat there.
She sat there. She was brand new to the community.
Oh no. And
she didn't get served because it wasn't in one of the rows. So she just had to sit there and didn't get food while everyone just stink-eyed her.
Why would somebody say something?
I did.
Oh,
to go over and I was like, hi, so-and-so, you want to move over here? She's like, no, it's nice. This is by the fireplace. Okay.
You gotta go, girly. You gotta go. You gotta go, Shirley.
Dude, I'm telling you, retirement communities, if you've never been in one, it is worse than the middle school cafeteria on the first day of school. Like, imagine being a new kid in a middle school cafeteria. Everyone has their assigned seats that are not official.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Everyone's looking at you as like, oh, you're the new girl. Where's new girl gonna sit? Oh. Wherever you sit determines your hierarchy in the community. I swear, this is exactly how it is. And I was like, I felt for that woman so much. I was like,
she's gonna have to transfer schools.
Seriously. Yeah.
I hope she's
never
doing
recovered.
Well.
I hope so too.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
This is actually our episode on retirement communities. You're in luck. But if you're someone who maybe doesn't have a ton of family in spirit, especially maybe like not family that you're close to, ancestor magic can also be connecting to your roots.
Mm-hmm. Like,
my family's Irish, so I try to read and connect with the like Celtic magic.
Okay, question for you.
Answer for you.
As someone who is a quarter each of Danish, Norwegian, Scottish, Irish, I never know which to connect with. I'm like, I could go anyway. I got a grandparent in each of those quadrants.
Uh-huh.
What would you say to me?
I would say, first of all, why do you have to choose? It's a why choose romance.
Oh my God. It is.
They can all be your ancestor magic boyfriends.
Oh my God. Which one has the biggest wingspan?
That's the real answer. But no, I would say that first of all, it's not like a Hogwarts house. You know, you don't choose one and you can't touch anything else. But what a fun opportunity that is for you to like dive deep into so many different cultures and see what resonates with you.
Yeah. I like that answer.
Yeah, I think like it's not, nothing is like set in stone. Nothing is permanent. There are no decisions that can't be like undone, or there's nothing that you can't pivot from. It's like you get to put your little toe in the water and see, hey, like what is it? This is something that I wish I did more of. And I wish I was more knowledgeable about. I feel like my work with the Morrigan has come from my like dipping my toe into some like Celtic practice, but I don't know as much as I would like to. It's really like one of my goals for this year to read more witchy books. We're having a book club at Spellcrafter that I'm like, okay, at least this will force me to read like one witchy book a month. And I am in the benefit of like I get to choose, so I can do it about things that I'm interested in. It's a group effort. We all collaborate on what the book's going to be, but I do get the final say because I buy the books. Maybe I'll add a Celtic witchcraft book to our list because it is something that I'm interested in and want to know more about. So this is a do as I say, not as I do moment.
Yeah, it's like I was reading a witchy book recently that I have not finished yet because something else took my attention. But it was this person who's like kind of dabbling in witchcraft for the first time, and that was the advice they were given is like start with your roots and like do a rabbit hole dive on like, you know, Celtic magic or Danish magic or whatever, and like just dive down that rabbit hole and then see where you branch off from there. And I think that's a really cool like option because I know we have a lot of people who reach out and say like, I don't even know where to start. And I think that's a cool place to start when it comes to like ancestral magic, but also like magic in general is like just Google whatever your heritage is, magic, and see where it takes you.
And this is also something that you can do like from where you're from geographically. Like my family's Irish. Obviously, I was not born in Ireland, but I was born in North Carolina. Appalachia has some really, really interesting folk magic. I know Linda used to talk about how she's from, I want to say Pennsylvania. I could be very wrong. Sorry. Someone who knows her will correct me, will text me and correct me. But like from that area, there's some really interesting folk magic there that she would tell me about. If you're from fucking, you know, like New Orleans, there's some specific regional magic to pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, Maine has a lot of agricultural magic. I mean, we wouldn't call it magic, but it's like it's magic.
There are different folk practices from everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is like obviously I'm using the States because that's where we are, but like wherever you are.
Yeah, wherever you are.
There's folk magic in that area. I can almost guarantee it.
I want to learn more about Maine magic.
Me too. What do you think Florida magic is like? Actually, I know. It's a swamp witch.
Oh, Maine's a potato witch.
If that doesn't describe the two of us.
Yeah. Swamp witch and potato witch.
You're the potato to my swamp.
Oh.
Love you.
Love you. Next.
And then this is just something that I wanted to really touch on. It's been a lesson that I have learned through Linda dying, is that chosen family is a part of ancestor magic. Linda was like another mother to me. So when she died, I knew that she was going to get that level of care and that level of honor. Linda has her own altar in my house. And I'll be honest, sorry, Grandpa, she gets her offerings re-upped more often than he does. All this stuff for my dad's family's ancestors, those are all at the store. Linda's altars, she has an altar in my home. She has an altar in Anthony's home. So if you don't feel strong ties to the people in your family, you don't feel strong ties to your roots, who do you feel strong ties to? I don't think Anthony would mind me saying this because he talks about it a lot. I think like he honors Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Like an ancestor. You know, like there are people, I think there are energies.
Aaron Carter.
Aaron Carter. Yes. There are energies
sure.
that we interact with in our lifetime that make an impact on us that is sometimes greater than our families. And they become so a part of us that it's the same as it's the same as sharing DNA, if not more powerful. And so it's a really excellent opportunity for you to like take a look at what family means to you and who fits that description for you.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, even like when we think about ancestral magic, sometimes I think of like the roots of the practices that I feel really drawn to. Like one of my greatest inspirations in like the mindfulness meditation kind of realm is Thich Nhat Hanh. And I feel very close with him, not just because I feel like every practice he's ever spoken about, I'm like, that's mundane magic. But also because the person who introduced me to this world studied with him. And so for a long time, Thich Nhat Hanh was a part of my altar. And when he passed, became like I would leave an offering for him, or like, Dr. Usui, who's like the roots of the lineage of Reiki that I practice. Oftentimes he'll get like a place at my altar, or I'll honor him. Maybe I'll say I don't know if I would call it a prayer, but it's probably a prayer for him, like a message of gratitude for him, or whatever kind of teacher or mentor in that line I want to honor. I think that's also a great way to practice ancestral magic, especially if you don't have like family you feel connected to. It's like, what practice do you feel deeply resonant with, and like who are the ancestors of that practice? Yeah,
I think that if ancestor work and ancestor magic feels hard for you, it's time to open your idea of what an ancestor is and open it to like, who are the people who have changed you? Who are the people who made you? Who are the people who like formed and shaped you?
Yeah.
Whether that be genetically or energetically, Hundo P. I will honor Linda as if she was my flesh and blood for the rest of my life. Like that is what feels good and feels right. And, losing a friend is weird. And it's something that like you can't really it's an experience that I never understood until it happened. And I think that those relationships are like, those are bonds that are stronger than blood.
Yeah.
And so if you have someone that you feel that way about who is in spirit, first of all, I'm so sorry. There's like no words. But second of all, that love and reverence that we talk about with ancestor magic and ancestor work, that is not reserved for familial ties. And I implore you to do that kind of magic for those people.
Yeah.
It's very healing.
For sure. Yeah. So I think we talked about a couple of options, talked about how to connect, some ways that you can honor them, offerings, Reiki, messages of gratitude, things like that. So, did we do it?
I think we might have done it.
I think we did it.
I love that for us.
This is our 99th episode.
That's how I feel.
What's really funny is my headphones did not pick up that noise, and so I just saw you big open mouth just breathe onto your microphone.
What a treat you're going to get when you listen to this back.
We have a special little treat magic for you in our 100th episode, so if you're not subscribed, you should probably do that.
Yeah, it's I highly recommend.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
All right, love you guys.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. If you want to learn more about us, you can find all our links in the show notes.
We'd love to know what you think of today's episode, so drop us a review or give us a shout out on social media. And don't forget to let us know your magical moment of the week. Okay, love you. Bye.